everybody, to the Carly and Brooke Show. Today we have Andy Slinger with us. He is the Amazon best-selling author of The Super Twins and The Super Twins 2. They are available on his website at andyslinger.com or on Amazon. And today we are going to be talking about marketing. So Andy, what have you, on your Instagram, you've talked about traditional marketing versus digital marketing. Can you kind of tell us what the difference is between the two of them and what you've found to be most successful?
I think that you can take elements from both of them. I mean, traditional marketing would, you take away computers out of the equation. You're looking at sort of mainstream media, so newspapers, radio, video, TV, publications, things like that. If you go so far as advertising, hoardings, television adverts, all those kind of things, that's all like traditional ones. Digital marketing, anything to do with the computer, really. So email marketing, you've got sort of advertising online, so you can got different kinds of pay-per-click things. So that would be like Amazon advertising, Facebook advertising, so anything digital, really.
And what have you found to be the most effective between those two?
I think the elements of both. I think I had good success with traditional when I started. I think that's the area that sort of first jumped into. So straight away I got straight onto like newspapers and things like that. Got lots of articles published about my first book. I was on the radio. I sort of links with people through the TV. So that's the area that I first went down. As I grew as an author and as a marketer, then I started looking at the digital side of things and realized the true power of it. I think that's the way that marketing's developing. Traditional media is still very important, but digital marketing, there's absolutely huge potential, especially with like advertising. I don't think in this world now that you can survive as an author without doing some kind of paid advertising. Social media, it's absolutely crucial to your success.
Mm-hmm. So do you think there's some avenue of marketing that writers are don't typically take advantage of that they should be?
Sales funnels in particular are massive, and there's so much potential there for an author. So you can take someone from like a cold audience, so they've never heard of your book before. You can advertise to them, target them to engage with your social media, with your adverts, and gain data on them. And once you've got that data, you can then remarket them with adverts. You can pull them onto an email list at very, very, very low cost. If you do it right, you can be picking up an email address for sort of 3 cents, 3 pence, whichever currency you're working in. Very, very cheap. And once you've got them on there, you can market them through emails. You can hit them with more adverts, and if you're really clever with it, you can get it at next to nothing. You could be talking 20p and you're selling a book to them, and you're also getting an email address, so that later down the line you can be selling them more and more books. So the potential there is huge, absolutely huge in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. So where would you recommend they got started with advertisements?
I think that you would start, if you're selling your books on Amazon, you want to be advertising on Amazon, because the way that platform works is you don't get charged a penny for impressions. So you might have 10,000 people view your advert, and that costs you absolutely nothing. So straight away, it's going into the mind of the person that they're seeing your book cover there. So fantastic for engagement. You get charged every time someone clicks on the book. So every time someone clicks on your book cover and goes to your details page,
mm-hmm.
that's when it's costing you money. So firstly, like I say, you're getting loads and loads of views of your book. Subconsciously, in your audience's mind, they're seeing the cover, and then you're getting clicks onto your book page for next to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're selling on Amazon, that's where you want to be targeting, targeting your ad spend, definitely. Once you've got good at that, then you can explore other avenues. But if you're selling on Amazon, absolutely, become an expert at Amazon ads. You have to be.
Have you seen any increase in sales from having a series versus just having one book? And would you recommend authors write series before they write standalones on Amazon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way that anyone should advertise it, through a series is you would advertise your first book. Now, if you advertise your first book, say it's an ebook, you've got link to your second book in the back page. Amazon automatically links them all together. So in theory, if you advertise, get them to buy your first book, if it's good enough, they're going to buy the second and then the third. So you're going to get that read through. You see, your margins on books are quite low, really. If you sell on Amazon, you're talking you're only going to make a few pounds or a few dollars per book. So you want to advertise as hard as you can on the first one, and hopefully they'll move on to the second or third. And I think for a beginner author, you always want to be writing in series, because you just don't have them. You don't have the, what's the word? You don't have the leeway to spend enough money, really.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I wouldn't have known that. It's good information. Have you found that search engine marketing or pay-per-clicks advertising makes a dent in your book sales?
The way that I did it is, when I first set my books going, I didn't put any money into marketing, and I waited until I got my royalties. So I think there's a lead time of like 60 days from the first time your book goes live on Amazon. So I waited until I got my first royalty check, and then that royalty check went on advertising. And when it ran out, then I waited, right? So I basically invested my money back into my business for at least the first 2 or 3 months. And then during that time, obviously, I became better and better at it. The cost of my advertising was less, and I was getting more sales on the back of it. So 3 or 4 months into my first book, then I started making the money. But I only invested my profits.
Have you seen an increase in sales with the increase in the number of reviews that you have on your book on Amazon?
I think you reach a certain stage, maybe sort of 40 or 50 reviews, and people start seeing you as a legitimate author. So I think if you can send people to your book page and they see that you got 40 or 50 reviews, providing that they're half decent and not all 1 stars, then people are more likely to buy your book. I would definitely say that. I think any more reviews than that, I don't think it's going to make a massive amount of difference. I think it's incremental, minimal in the scheme of things. But I think that you definitely need to have a certain amount of reviews to really make the most of it. But it's a chicken and egg situation. You've got to get the sales to get reviews, and without the reviews, you can't get the sales. So I think, especially when you're launching your first book, you've got to put a massive amount of emphasis on that.
Uh-huh.
And for me, I just sent as many copies out as I could to bloggers as I could. I was just like, have a copy, please just review it. And that was sort of my main form of attack at the start. Once I got to a certain stage, and I could push traffic there through my advertising and through my social media, then the sales came by themselves. But the reviews are crucial, especially with your first book.
Yeah.
Did you have to bother them at all when you sent them to book bloggers? And why did you choose book bloggers specifically to send your book to?
Because I think with book bloggers, they've got their own audience. So if they like the book, they're going to shout about it. And full well a book blogger has an audience of readers, not writers. There's readers there, and book bloggers are very specific in the genres that they read. I was sending them out obviously specifically for middle grade book bloggers, and that's what they love to read. So I think number one, you get a very honest review. You can really sort of tell where you are. I think number two, they've got your audience sat there waiting to see it, and number three, if they like it, they're going to promote it off their own back. And word of mouth is such a huge thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you didn't, after you sent it to them, how many book bloggers, like what percentage do you think just never left a review or never read it?
Probably a high percentage. Yeah, I think maybe 20 or 30% of the people actually sort of made a review, left a review, or sort of promoted it, which is quite low. But I think what I tried to do is make connections with them before I sent them a book. You know, especially through social media, I'd like, comment, and get to know the people before I sent them a copy of my book. It's very tempting just to send them a cold DM and say, "Oh, look, I've got this book. Will you review it?" And they go, "Oh, yeah, of course I will." And that ain't happening. They haven't got time for that.
Cold DMs, I almost always just delete them. It's like I get so many of them. So yeah, if somebody makes a personal connection and like, yeah, you have a connection before that, it definitely helps.
For sure. I love that. I love that a lot.
Yeah.
So one thing that I would like to delve into a little bit more, I don't think traditional marketing is talked about very much anymore. But that doesn't mean that it's not viable. So if somebody were to start traditional marketing in addition to digital marketing, what avenue would you suggest them going down?
I would say, first of all, write a press release and make a press pack. And that's really simple to do. There's like a formula for doing it, a specific way that you set it out. So write a press release, get a little press pack. Now you can find online, there's a certain way that you do it. So it includes like a headshot, a view, like a bio, frequently asked questions, all your details and things like that, and get that all together, get that in like a little zip file and just send it out to as many people as you can. And that works with newspapers and radio stations. Now, I managed to get into practically every single one of my local papers just with that one thing. So just make a decent press pack, because just straight away they think you're professional if you've got one of those, and get it on your site. You know, if you look on my site, I'm pretty sure it's still there. There's a little link at the bottom that says press pack. You can open it up and it's got all my details in there. So anyone can write an article on me. They've got everything they need there to do it. So spend time. It'll only take like a day or something just to put that together. And then you can send out emails to your blue in the face and you get a decent response from it. Do that to all the local press, all the local radio stations, and it's time well spent. And you get a good response from that, I think.
Good information. Yeah, good advice. So Andy, your Instagram is geared more towards writers and rather than readers. Do you still feel like you get a decent amount of book sales from your Instagram with targeting writers?
No, I would say not at all. I started off, and you know, I had a mix of writers and readers. And when I decided to do the twist and say, right, you know, my Instagram is now heading straight towards marketing, then I sort of I had a lull in my followers. I probably lost followers at that time, and it's taken a while for the audience to adapt to the marketing side of things. I picked up more writers and less readers in that time. So yeah, it's not geared towards it. You know, you look at my bio now, and it is just all focused on authors and marketing. So my book sales from my Instagram, from my social media, are minimal because it's not geared towards that now. I will still get people that buy through my Instagram because, you know, I've obviously got the link to my website and my books are on there. But primarily, no, not at all.
Interesting. What made you decide to go that route?
Because I found when I was writing my book that I absolutely love the marketing side of things. I really got a buzz out of learning about it. I read so many books, did so many courses, I watched so many videos, and it just clicked with me. It was something like a light bulb going off that I really enjoy this, and I've got a real passion for it. I enjoy my writing, but I think this is my calling. And I think, you know, I could see myself doing this for the rest of my life. So that's why I've gone down that route. I've really got a passion for it, and I've got that fire in my belly that I want to help other people. I love that people come to me to ask for advice, and I love being able to help people, because a lot of writers don't get on board with the marketing. They want to write books, and that's all. Now, whether you're self-published or traditionally published, the cruel reality is you're going to need to market yourself. And, you know, I want to be the person that helps others to do that. You know, if you haven't got a talent for marketing, but you've got a talent for writing, it'd be a travesty if your books weren't discovered by people. So, if I can be that bridge and help people along and make a living out of it at the same time, then why not? I'm going for it 100%.
Yeah. I feel a lot of writers come to me and they're like, I want to be able to write full time and be able to support my family after that. Well, then you need to learn marketing.
Absolutely. And you know, it's not going to be easy. People think they can write 1 or 2 books and all of a sudden they're making a living off your writing. The reality is it's going to take a lot longer than that. You know, you've got to think of it as a long-term plan. You've got to think of it as a long-term objective. And that doesn't mean getting book sales from day one. That's not going to help you retire. What you've got to do is focus on the email list, building up people on your platform, taking them off social media, taking them through advertising and everything like that, and getting them to your website and on your email list. Building a fan base that way, so that when your second or your third or your fourth book comes out, then you know these people know about it. They're watching you every stage of your process, and you know you can hit that button and send an email out to 3,000, 4,000 people on your email list, and a percentage of them are going to buy your books. And that's what's going to help you long term, is building up a tribe that's going to be with you throughout that and trust you as a writer and enjoy what you're doing.
Wow.
Love that.
Yeah. So do you use Facebook ads or Instagram ads at all? And if you have, are they effective for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've used both. I've used them to build my audience through Instagram. I've also used them to make an email list. And I think the most effective thing has been building my email list. And I've got a lot of sales on the back of it. I think when the Super Twins came out, I was offering like a free kids activity pack, and I was targeting that at like mothers aged 30 to 40 years old who had children 7 to 12, and I could, you know, narrow it down to a niche like that. Here, get your free activity pack, sign up to my email list. And I was getting email addresses for 2 to 3 pence or 2 to 3 cents per email address. And from that, I had an automated email sequence that introduced them to me, introduced them to the books. And by the time it got to the 4th email, there was a link that said, click this and buy the book for your kids. So the kids were taking this activity pack, they were colouring it in, they were doing the word searches, they were doing all these things, getting introduced to the characters along the way.
Wow. The
mum was getting a few emails coming through telling about me, you know, showing my website and things like that. And I think I managed to get it so on the 4th email, 20% of the people that opened it actually click through onto my Amazon page. Whether they bought a copy of my book, I couldn't tell you, but 20% were going onto there, and my sales increases as a result of that.
Wow, that's genius. So you gave them the free activity pack to work on, and then you didn't just hit them right away with the book. You gave it for like a few more emails, and then wow, that's really smart.
Yeah, and then on the 4th one, and by then you've built up a bit of trust for them. You've invited them onto your social media, so you're hitting them with 3-4, you know, different steps, getting them to know, like, and trust you before you offer them the book. The worst thing that people can do to a cold audience is go, look at me, buy my book, because who's ever going to buy that book? You don't know who this person is, unless you're like, you know, one of the greatest writers known to man and, you know, a household name. It's never going to happen. If you're an unknown person called Andy Slinger, they're just going to click off you. They've no interest in them. Now, if you're offering them something for free, you're offering them something that actually benefits them. I mean, you can think of something for every genre, you know, whether it's just a teaser into your latest book, whether it's just, you know, character profile, or, you know, the opening sequence to your book, your introduction or whatever. Offering something in exchange for an email address, you know, you provide them with value. So my aim is to provide my audience with as much value as possible before I ask for something in return for them. And I think you've always got to think like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really, really, really good advice.
Yeah, I love that. So what is the biggest mistake that you've made with marketing?
Biggest mistake I've made with marketing? I've made every mistake there was to make. So I don't know, it's working out which one's the biggest. I mean, I spent far too much money on adverts, and I persevered with them too much. So with Facebook adverts, I sat there and, I'll set an advert going and it cost me too much money. I sat there watching it going, oh, it'll come good soon. It'll come good soon. I ended up wasting too much money. So I think with me, it's, I've learned to turn adverts off quickly and test again, especially with Facebook adverts. Just turn them off. If it's not working within a few hours, turn it off and try again.
Oh, okay. So we like test a lot of different ads and see like what works. I don't know. Like, do you have like a process that you go through?
Yeah, I've definitely got a process. So I think with Facebook adverts, you've got a headline, an image or a video, and then you've got another body of text. So I'll start off and I'll fill in all three, and I will test one image against another image. I'll split test them, see which one is more effective and a cheaper click, and then I'll use that. So I'll delete the first image. Right, that's no good. So it's like a Champions League of adverts, just trying them against each other, and then I'll test a headline against a headline to see which one's better, and gradually I'll dwindle it down. So I might do 10 or 20 tests on one advert to find out the exact right image, the exact headline, the exact body of text that has the cheapest clicks. So that's how I work in terms of the ad creative. And then I'll also do the same in terms of audience. So I'll start off and I'll have a very broad audience. So I might do, adults age 18 to 65. And I'll start that off. And after a couple of days, I'll find that 30 to 45-year-old men seem to be clicking on it the most. I might be getting 6 pence a click from that, whereas a 60-year-old woman, it's costing me £1 to get a click from her. So I'll narrow my audience down like that, and I'll just start really broad and just narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down. And by the end of it, I might have a really small age range, specific sex. I might have, certain interests that are triggered by that. And, it's a time-consuming process, but once you get it right, you are quids in. You really are. You can get it down from, 70, 80 pence per click down to 3 or 4 pence if you do it correctly.
So it's kind of like a process of elimination, and then once you figure out how it works, then do you get to use that over and over and over again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I find it interesting. You said you started out with adults, right, and not children for a middle grade. And is that because adults buy it for their kids and not because kids are buying it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing about marketing for children's books. You're writing it for the children, but you're marketing it to the adults.
Yeah.
And, I soon established that, it was women that held the purse strings in the majority of cases, of a certain age would have that age of children. So those are the people that you've got to do it for. The covers have got to appeal to the children, but everything it stands for and the morals and all those kind of things need to appeal to the adults, because they're the ones that are going to be selecting it for the kids. And also grandparents. Grandparents are a good one as well, especially around Christmas time.
I love that. That's fascinating. So if you were to tell writers to focus on just one area of marketing, if that's all they have time for, what would you recommend they focused on?
I think that it has to be building up an email list. I think that's got to be a priority. So get yourself a freebie, something you can give away of value that your audience will like, and build up your email list. If you want to be a successful writer long term, then your email list is going to be key, especially in this day and age. It might not give you short-term returns, but long-term, that's your retirement fund right there. You're building up a loyal audience who know, like, trust you, and they'll be there through thick and thin. So, build up that email list. It's okay having 100,000 followers on Instagram, but if your account gets closed down tomorrow, you've lost everything. So, you need to push everyone onto your email list, make it traffic that you own, people that are part of your community, and give them a reason to be there. So that to me is crucial.
Yeah, and I think that's a real valid concern. There's not a lot of like if somebody hacks into your account and it's gone, all your followers are gone.
That's it. Yeah, it's worth nothing. It's worth absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, make them your traffic and not Instagram's.
For sure. Okay, well, thank you so much for all your awesome advice. This has been a great conversation. So everyone, don't forget to check out Andy's books, The Super Twins and The Super Twins 2. They're available on his website, andyslinger.com, or on Amazon. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share if you found this video helpful. And ring the bell to be notified when our next video is up. So thank you so much for watching and for joining us today. Hope to see you next time.